The courtroom was quiet in the way only courtrooms ever are. Not silent, but controlled. The soft hum of overhead lights filled the space. Papers rustled. A pen clicked once, then stopped. The American flag stood perfectly still in the corner, its colors dull under fluorescent light. This was a routine sentencing hearing. The kind that happened every single day. The judge had already handled 3 cases that morning. Minor theft. Probation violation. A plea deal. Nothing memorable. Nothing dangerous. Then came the last case on the docket. The bailiff called the name. The man stepped forward slowly. He was wearing an orange jumpsuit, wrists chained, ankles heavy with metal. Early 30s. Thin. Pale. His eyes looked tired, but not scared. Not angry either. Just focused. He didn't look at the prosecutor. He didn't look at his lawyer. He didn't look at the spectators behind him. He looked only at the judge. The clerk read the charges in a flat voice. Aggravated assault. Prior convictions. A record long enough that no one bothered reacting anymore. The prosecutor recommended prison time. The defense asked for leniency. The judge nodded, flipping through the file like she'd seen this man 100 times before, even though she hadn't. For minutes. That's all it was supposed to take. The judge cleared her throat and began. Based on the evidence presented and the defendant's criminal history, this court finds. The man spoke. Don't. The word landed hard in the room. Not loud. Not shouted. Just firm. The judge paused. Eyes lifted from the page. I'm sorry, she said. The man swallowed. His hands tightened around the chain. Don't read it yet, he said. Not today. A ripple moved through the courtroom. The bailiff shifted his weight. The prosecutor smirked. The defense attorney sighed, already embarrassed. The judge leaned forward slightly. You will not interrupt this court, she said calmly. This is your final warning. The man hesitated. Then he said, quietly, you're not safe. That did it. The judge straightened, irritation flashing across her face. That's enough, she said. I will not entertain threats from. It's not a threat, the man said. It's a warning. The bailiff stepped closer. Remove him if he speaks again. The man took a breath. His chest rose and fell, slow and controlled. They told you I was crazy, he said. That's how this works. The judge glanced down at the file. Mr. Cole, she said, reading his name for the first time, you have a documented history of mental instability. This court is aware of. He smiled. Not wide. Not happy. Almost relieved. That's what saved you so long, he said. The judge lifted her hand. That's it. Bailiff. He moved. It happened faster than anyone could process. Chains clattered as the man lunged forward, vaulting over the defense table with a force no one expected. The sound echoed like dropped tools on concrete. Someone screamed. The bailiff shouted. The judge pushed back from the bench just as the man slammed into it, wood splintering under the impact. Alarms began to blare. High-pitched. Relentless. Deputies rushed in from both sides, boots pounding against the floor. A chair tipped over. Papers flew. The room exploded into motion. The man was yelling now. Check the evidence room. A deputy grabbed his arm. He tore free. April 9th. Another deputy tackled him from behind. The USB drive. You signed it. The judge was pulled back, stumbling as a deputy shielded her body. Her shoulder hit the wall hard. Blood smeared against the polished surface as someone fell nearby. Get him down. Hands piled on top of the man. He fought wildly, chains cutting into skin, breath ragged but words still pouring out. They buried her, he screamed. You know they did. His face was forced to the floor. A knee pressed into his back. You can't erase video, he shouted. IT copies. The room smelled like sweat and metal and panic. Then, silence. The man was restrained. Shackled tighter. Hauled to his feet, still breathing hard, eyes wild but clear. The judge stood frozen. Her robe was torn at the sleeve. Her hair had come loose. One hand trembled as she steadied herself against the bench. Medical staff rushed in. Deputies sealed the doors. Spectators were escorted out in stunned silence. Within minutes, the room looked normal again. Too normal. Broken bench aside, it could have been just another incident. Another violent outburst. Another crazy convict losing control. That's what everyone said. Mental illness. Desperation. Nothing more. The judge survived. Shaken, but alive. Court was adjourned. And most people walked away believing they'd just witnessed a man destroy his own future. Most people. But not all. Because in the back row, long after the shouting stopped, one woman remained seated. She hadn't screamed. She hadn't moved. She hadn't looked away. She was replaying the words in her head. April 9th. Evidence room. USB drive. Details. Too specific to be random. Too precise to be madness. And as she stood up and quietly left the courtroom, one thought followed her out into the hallway. What if he wasn't attacking the judge to escape justice? What if he was trying to expose it? While the courtroom emptied, most people whispered in the hallways, talking about the crazy convict. Some shook their heads. Others pulled out phones, already filming snippets that would later flood social media. But one person stayed behind, silently seated at the back, Detective Laura McKenna. She didn't flinch when Evan Cole leapt at the bench. She didn't scream when the alarms blared. Instead, she wrote nothing, said nothing, and simply observed. Years on the force had trained her to notice the details others ignored. She replayed the convict's words in her head. April 9th. USB drive. Evidence room. Not random. Not insane. Too specific. Her mind raced. What did he know? Why that date? Why that drive? And why mention it in open court? After the courtroom emptied, she lingered near the evidence room's records. She pulled the public logs, examining entries from years past. Files checked in, checked out, signed off. And then she noticed it. A record that didn't make sense. The log showed a sealed evidence item, checked out on April 9th, 5 years ago. But the person who signed it out wasn't listed anywhere in the official reports. The entry had no justification. Her pulse quickened. Something had been hidden, and someone had covered it up. She leaned closer to the screen. Her eye scanned the details. This can't exist, she whispered. Because it shouldn't. Yet there it was, a single digital trail, quietly screaming a truth the world had ignored. And that's when she found the first record that should not exist. The evidence item was small. A plain, unmarked USB drive. Its existence was noted, but the details were sealed years ago. According to court rulings, it was deemed inadmissible, a clerical anomaly buried beneath mountains of paperwork. Judge Marilyn Brooks had presided over the original case. At the time, no one had questioned her decision. Now, Detective McKenna stared at the log, noting irregularities. Timestamps altered. Pages missing from the ledger. Signatures that didn't match handwriting samples. She pulled up the old case files. The name attached to the USB drive made her stomach twist: Rachel Whitmore. Rachel had been reported missing at 27, a bright young woman whose life ended, or disappeared, under circumstances no one could explain. The case had gone cold in months. There was no body, no suspect, no resolution. But this file, this unassuming USB drive, held answers. McKenna's eyes narrowed. The log indicated that someone, long ago, had deliberately buried crucial evidence. It wasn't just lost. It was hidden. And the person responsible? The same judge who had overseen Evan Cole's sentencing. Her mind raced. Could Evan have stumbled onto this drive while in the courthouse? Could that explain why he shouted those specific phrases in court? She reached for her phone, ready to dig deeper into the archives, when another detail jumped out, the signature approving the item's removal. It wasn't just a clerical name. It was the judge herself. McKenna leaned back in her chair, heart pounding. She had uncovered a sealed file tied to a cold missing person case. But what disturbed her most wasn't the missing file. It was who had signed off on it. A chill ran down her spine. To everyone in the courtroom, he was just another repeat offender. A man with a criminal record long enough to be forgotten, with tired eyes and a history of being difficult. But that was only the surface. Before his arrest, Evan had a life no one suspected. By day, he was quiet, withdrawn, unremarkable. By night, he worked inside the Clark County Courthouse as a janitor. Not a glamorous position, and certainly not one that would raise eyebrows. But it gave him access where others never went. He cleaned offices, hallways, and storage rooms late at night, long after the last lawyer had left, after the clerks had gone home, after the janitorial closet lights flickered off. It was during these nights that Evan noticed small things: files tucked away in forgotten cabinets, doors left ajar, boxes with old labels that didn't match their contents. One evening, as he wheeled a trash bin through the evidence archive, a glint caught his eye. Beneath a low shelf, taped carefully, was a small USB drive. No label. No explanation. Curiosity overrode caution. He took it home, plugged it into his laptop, and froze. The footage on it was grainy but unmistakable. A young woman arguing in a deserted parking garage. The timestamp showed the night she disappeared. And then a face appeared. One he recognized instantly. It wasn't just any face. It was the judge who had presided over his sentencing that very morning. Evan's heart raced. Every instinct told him to run. To forget. To stay silent. But he couldn't. Not now. Not after seeing it. And what he saw on it destroyed any chance of him staying silent. It had changed everything. The video was brief. Barely 2 minutes. But it was enough. The footage was shot from a security camera in the dimly lit parking garage. A young woman, Rachel Whitmore, argued with a man, gesturing desperately. Her words were muffled, distorted by the wind and camera angle. Then the camera shifted slightly. The man's face became clearer. Tall, serious, unmistakable. The judge. Evan watched it frame by frame, unable to look away. He could see her gestures, direct, deliberate. The way she handled the confrontation, the way she leaned in, almost touching Rachel. And then the video cut. Nothing else. The abrupt ending left questions that gnawed at Evan's mind. What had happened next? Did anyone else see this? How had such a crucial piece of evidence been forgotten or buried for years? He knew one thing: the judge wasn't just connected to the case. She was part of it. A part that could explain Rachel Whitmore's disappearance. Every memory of the courthouse, every routine cleaning task, every hallway he'd walked in silence, it suddenly all made sense. And as he stared at the screen, the weight of it crushed him. If the wrong people knew he had seen this, his life would never be the same. He had no choice but to act. Rachel Whitmore wasn't just another missing person. She was a brilliant young woman, 27, finishing her master's degree in political science at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Her friends described her as meticulous, determined, and fearless, a researcher who refused to take no for an answer. Weeks before she vanished, Rachel had been digging into judicial corruption in the county court system. Her thesis wasn't just academic, it was investigative. She had uncovered a pattern of sealed cases, altered rulings, and evidence that mysteriously disappeared, all tied to sensitive prosecutions presided over by the very judge now in Evan Cole's courtroom. Rachel had submitted multiple requests to access these files, filing motions, sending emails, and even going through formal legal channels. Each request was blocked. Each request denied. And each denial came directly under the judge's authority. Rachel didn't back down. She kept pushing. She kept researching. She kept asking questions. And in doing so, she had painted a target on herself. Detective McKenna's investigation now tied every detail together. The missing USB drive. Evan's warnings in court. Rachel's attempts to expose corruption. And then it hit her. The person who blocked every request was the same judge. McKenna stared at the screen in disbelief. Evan's outburst in court suddenly made sense. He hadn't been crazy. He had been trying to draw attention to the truth, a truth that had been buried for years by someone with power. The stakes weren't just about Evan or Rachel anymore, they were about a system that had silenced the wrong people for far too long. And the person who blocked every request was the same judge. The day after Evan's courtroom attack, the situation escalated faster than anyone could anticipate. Judge Marilyn Brooks called in unexpectedly, citing a personal emergency, and took an emergency leave. Colleagues assumed it was stress. The courthouse whispered about the incident, but few connected it to Evan's warnings. Then came the discovery at her residence. Her house, usually meticulously maintained, was completely empty. Furniture gone. Personal belongings missing. Her car wasn't in the driveway. Her phone and personal devices abandoned. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, the evidence room where Rachel's USB drive had been stored suffered a suspicious fire overnight. Investigators reported that most of the paper files had burned completely. Security footage was incomplete. Only fragments remained. Media outlets descended on the courthouse. National attention followed. The FBI quietly joined local law enforcement. Judge Brooks wasn't just gone, she disappeared exactly as the investigation into Rachel's case began to surface publicly. Every piece of her routine life had vanished. Every trace erased. Every excuse gone. But McKenna, thinking ahead, knew better. Fires could destroy paper. Fires could destroy servers. Fires could even destroy offices. But backups don't burn so easily. Someone had already copied the truth, hidden it from sight. And now that someone had a story waiting to be told, a story that Evan had risked everything to bring into the open. Evan Cole remained behind bars, shackled and isolated. Officially, he was serving time for his violent outburst in the courtroom. But unofficially, he was paying the price for what he knew. Every day, he replayed the events in his mind. The USB drive. The video. Rachel Whitmore. Judge Brooks. He understood something most people would never realize: some knowledge comes with consequences you cannot escape. No new charges were filed against him. No further investigations publicly linked him to the missing woman's case. Yet freedom never came. Every parole review was denied. Every appeal ignored. His lawyer, weary from the chaos, received an anonymous envelope one rainy afternoon. Inside, a single sheet of paper, typed but unsigned. You weren't wrong. Keep pushing. Some truths demand a witness. No return address. Postmarked Chicago, Illinois. Evan felt a flicker of hope. Someone else knew the stakes. Someone else had the courage to act quietly, without drawing attention. Across the country, Detective McKenna continued her work behind the scenes. She dug into old leads, piecing together Rachel's last movements, tracing connections, confirming suspicions. But the closer she got to the truth, the more dangerous the situation became. And in the shadows, the people who had buried Rachel's case were watching, waiting, ready to silence anyone who exposed them. And then a single envelope appeared. From out of state. Judge Marilyn Brooks was never found. Her emergency leave became permanent, her whereabouts unknown. The official record marked the case as unresolved. Files burned. Witnesses silent. Media attention faded. Evan Cole faded from the headlines too, labeled a violent criminal. His story dismissed. The world moved on. Yet questions lingered, haunting anyone who had followed the case. Was Evan Cole a dangerous convict, or a man desperate to reveal the truth? Did Rachel Whitmore's death, or disappearance, hide something far bigger? Was Judge Brooks a corrupt official, a target, or both? The answers remained out of reach. And that uncertainty is what lingered in the minds of those who dared to think critically. Now, the question is for you. What do you believe? Was Evan a hero, or just another criminal? Was the system protecting itself, or something darker? The story isn't over. It lives in your mind. It grows with every question you ask. If this story gripped you, left you thinking, or made you question authority, like this video, share it with someone who loves true crime, and subscribe to the channel. And comment below, where are you watching from, and what do you think really happened to Rachel Whitmore? Because sometimes, the truth doesn't scream. It waits.